Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. Impromptu light show.
Just didn't stop. It kept going for almost a half an hour.
Fireworks erupt on Highway 1 near Hope after a crash. Plus, BC Hydro reminds you to be ready.
So we are already seeing the effects of the drought on outages.
As fall storms move in. And serving up success.
Because it's like, oh my God, it feels like at home, which obviously being in a completely different country it gives me a big sense of pride.
We mark Latin American Heritage Month with a close look at a beloved Mexican restaurant in Metro Vancouver.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. Drivers on Highway 1 had a front row seat to a startling impromptu fireworks show last night. It erupted after a crash involving a trailer full of the explosives. As Liam Britton shows us, at least one person was hurt, and police say it could have been much worse.
Around 10 o'clock last night, an early Halloween fireworks display partially closed Highway 1 near Hope for hours and gave passers-by quite a sight.
I said it was like sensory overload because there was so much sound and so much light. I said to my son, it was the most spectacular fireworks show I've seen in my life and probably would be his most spectacular fireworks show. And it came at no charge.
What is the show in Vancouver? The Symphony of Fire? It was something like that, but the crescendo, and it just didn't stop. It kept going for almost a half an hour. And then after that, it would die down a little bit and then it would start up again.
Police say the impromptu show happened when a semi collided with a pickup truck towing a trailer full of fireworks. Paramedics say one person was sent to hospital with minor injuries.
But obviously, as you can see in the video, it was not a safe place for people to approach just because they were going in all directions and it was not a controlled environment at all.
So while it was an impressive sight, it could also serve as a reminder at Halloween time of firework risks. Health Canada reports that since 2011, there have been 210 fireworks injuries reported. Burns were 60% of the reported injuries, eye injuries 19%, and males accounted for 2/3 of these injuries. Kelly Guile knows fireworks and fireworks safety. He's been launching professional pyrotechnics for 30 years, including at the Celebration of Light in Vancouver. He says fireworks are safe if used correctly, and transport mishaps are incredibly rare. But if you find yourself in a situation with uncontrolled pyrotechnics,
and the best thing to do is to back away and let the emergency people who know what they're doing handle it, and the person hauling it will have had their transport of dangerous goods documentation, and they should know exactly what to do in that situation as well.
Police say they're looking into the crash to see if anything was done illegally, including how the fireworks were transported. And while the surprise display looked impressive, they say it easily could have turned out much worse. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Setting off fireworks on Halloween has long been a tradition for some people in Metro Vancouver, but more and more cities are tightening the rules. This year, you can only set off fireworks legally in 5 local municipalities: Burnaby, New Westminster, Port Moody, Port Coquitlam, and the District of North Vancouver. The rules differ from place to place, though. Some cities require a permit, some only allow shows on Halloween, and some restrict use to people 18 or older. You need to check what rules apply to you before you decide to let them off. A conflict half a world away is being felt at 2 Vancouver restaurants. One serves Israeli food in the West End. The other serves Palestinian cuisine in the Hastings Sunrise neighborhood. As Yasmin Gandam shows us, both say they're being attacked online and in person, but vow to keep a focus on food and the well-being of their customers.
I'm back to where I was 30 years ago, and for what?
When the Israel-Hamas war began, Afra Sixto, the owner of Afra's Kitchen in the West End, put an Israeli flag in the window of her restaurant as a way to show support for her homeland. She says she was shaken when a man entered her restaurant and told her he hoped all the Jews died.
Our existence is in danger. And no matter where we are in the world, it will never be home.
Sixto says despite the harassment, she will not be silenced.
Every day I come to this restaurant, I think it's my last day on earth, but I come.
Vancouver police are currently investigating multiple reports of hateful comments, including one where a pedestrian shouted slurs from the sidewalk at Sixto. This local MLA says what happened at Offra's Kitchen is unacceptable.
And I think that sense of safety starts to disappear for people, and then they start to question, am I safe walking outside alone at night?
Offra's Kitchen is not the only restaurant that has been affected. Sobai Al-Zobadi owns Tamam, a Palestinian restaurant in East Vancouver. His recent Google reviews have been bombarded with one-star ratings, including hateful speech, labeling him a terrorist.
They say like, this is not a Palestinian restaurant, there is no such thing as Palestine, you terrorist, this is Israeli food.
He says his family's passion for their traditional food and serving the community is what keeps him going in these tough times. Al-Zobadi has spent time in Gaza and is heartbroken to see the pain his people are experiencing.
They're kind-hearted, warm, very kind, helpful.
He is planning a fundraiser at Tamam on Sunday to show people the beauty of Palestinian cuisine and raise money for Gaza. For people like Al-Zobadi and Sixto, it is a reminder that tensions happening across the world are being felt here.
I came here to get away from it all, to give my children a safe home. I'm back 30 years. I'm back to thinking I will come and there'll be a bomb here.
Smelling the aromas of food and hearing traditional music is what brings them both the closest to feeling at home. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, Vancouver.
Vancouver police also say they've made 258 more arrests in an ongoing crackdown on violent and chronic shoplifters.
We recognize that healthy businesses are economic drivers that draw people to our city. When merchants struggle with their employees feeling threatened because of crime, it means we need to act.
The arrests were made over 2 weeks in mid-September, the latest phase of a project launched by the force last spring. Police say they also worked with officers in Delta, Langley, Richmond, and Burnaby, where they made an extra 82 shoplifting arrests. BC Hydro was warning you to be prepared for more power outages this storm season. The province endured an extremely dry summer and widespread drought, which fueled the worst wildfire season on record. That damaged soil, roots, and trees, making many of them vulnerable to wind. Now, the utility says a substantial number of dead and damaged trees and branches are expected to fall.
We did have our first small storm of the season. And when I say small, it was about 100,000 customers out at the peak of the storm Tuesday into Wednesday this week. So we are already seeing the effects of the drought on outages.
Hydro advises you to prepare for an outage by having an emergency kit with supplies that can last you and your loved ones 3 days. To mark Latin American Heritage Month, we're sharing a success story where family roots and authentic Mexican recipes all play a pivotal role. As Janella Hamilton shows us, one popular Mexican eatery is serving up much more than just tacos.
With 4 locations across the Lower Mainland, Sally Limon Mexican cuisine is a favorite for many people. Co-owner Carolina Rivera says the roots of the restaurant stem from her childhood in Mexico.
We started with recipes from my family, with salsas that I was making at home growing up, with ingredients that are fresh.
The local restaurant chain got its start in what's become a trendy corner, Fraser in Kingsway. Now it's to Commercial Drive, South Surrey, and the Vancouver International Airport. After moving to Canada, Rivera says she saw a need for traditional Mexican food in the city and a family-friendly place for the community to gather. But it took a lot of perseverance.
We didn't have a lot of money. We were two couples trying to build something with whatever we had. So we put a lot of our effort and our work and our time, and we painted, we did everything we could on our own.
Rivera says even before they finished painting, they had customers lining up, knocking at the door. Paolo Diligenti, a regular customer whose family is from South America, says the restaurant has some of the best food in town and it's affordable.
I go with the chicken burrito, guacamole, cheese. It's amazing.
Those bold, authentic flavors coming from the kitchen where Sergio Villalobos has been working as a cook for about 4 years.
That some customers come and talk to you in Spanish, and and sometimes they'll ask you about your country, where you're from, exactly Mexico, and they talk, I've been there and I've been that place and whatever. So it's really cool.
Rivera says she's still in awe over the impact her business has had in the community. And while it may be scary at first to take the leap, she is encouraging other entrepreneurs to follow their dreams.
Being in a completely different country it gives me a big sense of pride.
Hard work, family tradition, and authenticity, some of the ingredients for success. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
The Downtown Eastside's Heart of the City Festival is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. The Hastings Street Band was serenading passers-by yesterday, playing a set on the sidewalk of Hastings and Carroll. This year's festival theme is grounded in community, carrying it forward. Featuring over 100 events, including poetry, film screenings, and workshops. Events will run until Sunday, November 5th. Parks Canada has now closed down all bodies of water in Kootenay and Yoho National Parks due to the ongoing suspected outbreak of whirling disease. The first suspected case in BC was found in September in Emerald Lake and Yoho National Park, prompting its closure and other nearby waterways. In a previous statement, the agency said it's impossible to directly eradicate the parasite that causes the disease, and the only way to do it is to take care of all the fish. Although the disease does not pose any risk to humans, people can spread it. Parks Canada says the lakes will remain closed until the end of next March to try to limit the spread. Darius Madavi is here to tell us what's going to happen this weekend, because some people celebrate Halloween a little bit early, don't they? I mean adults, right?
Adults, yes. Yeah. Going to be a chilly one. We are warming up, so for real Halloween and the people who are actually heading out to go trick-or-treating, it should be a little bit better. But for now, again, boring weather story. Nothing really happening across the province. Tiny bit of cloud moved into some parts of the north and the east, but it was short-lived, and that'll be the story for the rest of the weekend. A few moments of cloud, but nothing building up in terms of precipitation. We've got nothing happening inside across the province, really. You can see absolutely nothing happening. This is just one model, but really all of them agree that it's going to be a pretty boring weather weekend, but plenty of sunshine for those, I think most, who are excited for that. And we are warming up for the most part across much of the province. That being said, lows are still going to be quite low for a while yet, so they are starting to come up, but you can see well below seasonal in some places across the province, especially up north, but you start to see some more of that green color build in as we go later into the weekend. So by the time Halloween does roll around, hopefully we won't have to have too much, heavy jacket and snow pants covering up people's wonderful costumes. But tonight, all clear skies, whatever cloud we do have, for the most part, clearing up for tomorrow, meaning most everywhere except the very most northern parts of the province. We're looking like nothing to speak of except for some sunshine and some clear skies tonight.
Okay, we'll check in later. Thanks, Darius.
Thanks, Dan.
A Prince George couple is sharing their story after a man who lives with cerebral palsy and relies on a wheelchair says he was forced to drag himself off an Air Canada flight with only his wife to help him. As Michelle Morton reports, there was no wheelchair on board.
To celebrate their anniversary, Rodney and Deanna Hodgins flew from Vancouver to Las Vegas in August. Rodney uses a wheelchair and uses what is called an aisle seat to help him exit planes. But upon landing in Las Vegas, they say crew advised them that no seat was coming and he'd have to get off the plane by himself. The couple says at first they thought the staff was joking.
How am I supposed to get to the front of the plane when I can't walk myself off the plane? If I didn't need a wheelchair, I wouldn't have been sitting there.
Then they said he just had to get out of his chair into the front of the plane with only the help of his wife.
And you got to imagine from row 12 to seat 11, 10, 9, you are watching this man grab the back of a chair and then struggle and fight while I'm on the ground. I'm crawling on the ground, moving his legs.
He says it was a dehumanizing experience that impacted the trip.
It was quite painful for me to do that in the first place. Like physically painful. It hurt my legs. For 3 days, I felt terrible on my holiday for 3 days because I had to do this.
The couple says Air Canada has reached out to them and offered them a couple $1,000s in flight credits, but says it's not money or credit they are worried about.
I want you to change your policy so that you always have somebody there all the time when a person with a disability is coming off that plane.
Air Canada said in a statement to CBC News it uses a third-party wheelchair assistance specialist in Las Vegas and will be investigating what happened. Michelle Morton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Air Canada, meanwhile, is reaching out to some other passengers offering to settle their compensation cases. The Canadian Transportation Agency has a backlog of more than 61,000 complaints, cases that could take more than 18 months to resolve. But as Sophia Harris tells us, some people say that what the airline is offering feels like a raw deal.
After Air Canada rejected Samantha Smith's compensation claim, she took her case to the Canadian Transportation Agency. But it's stuck on a big backlog.
The wait time between when you submitted your case and when it is reviewed can be more than 18 months.
So she was hopeful when Air Canada sent her this email. It mentioned the long wait.
There is a significant backlog of cases before the CTA at this time.
And it offered to settle her case now. The offer, $225 or a $400 travel voucher. That's in addition to a $700 voucher already offered. But Smith believes she's owed more than $1,400 in cash for an overnight flight delay.
$225 doesn't even cover my out-of-pocket expenses just for the hotel room. And so these alternative offers, in my view, are a way to try and pressure people into accepting less than what they deserve.
CBC News spoke with 5 passengers who said Air Canada offered them less than what they believe they're owed. Even so, 2 said they agreed to a settlement rather than wait out the CTA backlog.
It's really kind of unconscionable.
This consumer rights advocate says Air Canada shouldn't meddle in the CTA process.
It's an abusive use of an offer to try to get consumers to agree to something just because there's delays and they might be desperate to get their money back.
Under federal rules, airlines must pay up to $1,000 for lengthy flight delays, plus cover accommodation if the airline is at fault. Air Canada says it pays full compensation for valid claims and is offering different negotiable deals to wrap up claims it deems invalid.
It's just more convenient.
This professor says settling claims informally is more efficient than battling it out at the CTA.
Air Canada, in this case, would have to have people designated to actually respond, make arguments.
As for Smith, she didn't accept Air Canada's offer and plans to endure the wait to try to get the compensation she feels she deserves. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
A Fifth Estate investigation has found that genealogical records and historical research contradict Buffy St Maries' claim that she is a Cree woman from Saskatchewan. For decades, the celebrated singer-songwriter has said she is a Cree woman born in Saskatchewan. But as Jeff Leo reports, some of her own family members are now casting doubt on that claim.
Buffy St Maries is considered one of North America's most famous Indigenous people. She started her career way back in the 1960s as a folk singer in New York City, playing alongside the likes of Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Joni Mitchell. And her songs became anthems for both war protesters and also for advocates of Indigenous rights. Now, claims about her ancestry, they've shifted over the years from Algonquin and Mi'kmaq early on in her career, eventually claims that she was Cree. She's also said that she was born on the Piapot First Nation, which is just north of Regina in Saskatchewan, in the early 1940s. And then, her story goes, she was adopted as an infant by an American couple Albert and Winifred Santa Maria, and they raised her in Massachusetts. And finally, her story says that in her early 20s, she was reunited with her Piapot relatives and adopted into the Piapot family. Now, I spoke with her niece, Heidi St. Marie, and she says that story is an elaborate fabrication. She says, in fact, Buffy St. Marie is of Italian and English ancestry and was born in Stoneham, Massachusetts.
I mean, she's clearly born in the United States. She's clearly not Indigenous or Native American. She wasn't born in Canada.
Now, CBC's investigation actually uncovered Buffy St. Marie's birth certificate, and it confirms that she was born February 20th, 1941, in Stoneham, Massachusetts. We've asked her for an interview about this, but she's declined our request. In a letter, her lawyer suggested that this birth certificate may not, in fact, be real. The lawyer also says that at no point has Buffy misrepresented her ancestry or any details about herself. Jeff Leo, CBC News, Toronto.
Now, the Fifth Estate's investigation, Making an Icon, streams on YouTube tonight on CBC Television at 9 p.m. and streaming anytime on CBC Gem. Reaction to this investigation is now pouring in. Many in the Indigenous community are expressing shock and confusion that a beloved icon may not be who she says she is. But as Sam Sampson shows us, there is also compassion and support.
These are some earrings that Buffy made for me.
A gift from an icon, kept with compassion.
I love Buffy, and I send all my love to her.
For years, Dene artist Lila Gilday has considered Buffy St. Marie a friend and mentor, and still does.
Like, I regret that she didn't dig further, but I don't regret the body of work that she's, spent, 70 years creating.
St. Marie has said she's a Cree woman born in Piapot First Nation in Saskatchewan, then adopted by an American couple. But the CBC's Fifth Estate investigation calls that ancestry into question. St. Marie has not addressed these issues directly with CBC News, but in a video posted Thursday, she calls the allegations deeply hurtful and continues to claim an Indigenous identity.
I know who I am. I know who I love and who loves me. And I know who claims me.
A Piapot family that says it ceremoniously adopted St. Marie into their family decades ago issued a statement calling the allegations hurtful, ignorant, colonial, and racist, and that Canada does not get to determine who we claim as family, and neither does the media.
When Buffy won an Oscar, we all won an Oscar.
Piapot acting chief Ira LaValle says his community was surprised as anyone about the news, but they're backing their traditional ways.
I can relate and understand to a lot of our people who feel betrayed. We can't just adhere to what's convenient in the moment. I'm speaking because we do have one of our families in our communities that did adopt her. Regardless of her ancestry, that adoption in our culture to us is legitimate.
Others, like Crystal Samaginus, express pain. She was separated from her Plains Cree family during the 60s scoop. Her story was featured in a CBC podcast.
She was all I had to look to. So now I've had to reframe my heroes. I forgive Buffy, I love Buffy, but I think we have to make room for truth.
For some, St. Marie's music and advocacy for the community is what matters.
I'm glad these truths have come to light, but it doesn't change the fact that she's given her whole heart to our Indigenous music community and her family, her Indigenous family.
Don't stand between the reservations.
Some standing behind her as others try and come to terms with the revelations. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Regina.
It is Canadian Down Syndrome Week. We're going to speak with a Burnaby organization helping people who live with the condition to find jobs. Stick around. And hello to everyone watching our commercial-free live stream. Thanks for being here. The number of heartworm cases on PEI has jumped in recent years, and staff at the Atlantic Veterinary College are urging dog owners to be careful. Nancy Russell shows us why.
Nova is living the good life these days, treats from her owner and a clean bill of health. In 2019, she tested positive for heartworm during an annual checkup in the United States where the family was living. She contracted the disease during a family trip.
A lot of money and I think 6 months of treatment for her, and it was pretty tough on her because you have to keep them confined to a really small space. And it was really hard for her. But she lived through it. Not every dog does, so thankfully she did, and from now on she's on prevention every month.
The Atlantic Veterinary College tests about 150 samples for heartworm every year from dogs from across Atlantic Canada. There used to be 1 or 2 positive results a year. Now more than half are coming back positive.
So most of the animals that we diagnosed are actually imported from the southern states. So they're rescue dogs that are brought into the Atlantic provinces. So when it comes to heartworm, there's actually no rules. So for parasites in general, there are no rules to import animals into Canada. So there's no restrictions, there's no testing.
Dr. Gurmich says the AVC has also had the first 2 cases of dogs testing positive for heartworm that have not traveled. That means the disease is now being spread by mosquitoes.
So basically, when we bring in these animals from the southern states that are infected, mosquitoes will pick up the larvae from these dogs, and in the mosquito, the larvae can develop, and then they can infect other dogs.
Nova is now 9, living in Charlottetown, where Chelsea Di Gregorio is in her 3rd year of vet school. She hopes pet owners on PEI will take precautions against heartworm, like the monthly pill that she gives Nova.
It only takes 1 mosquito and they can live in the house for a while, so I myself choose to do it all year round just because I would prefer Nova not to have to go through that again, and I don't think any dog should have to go through that because we do have the resources to prevent it. So in my opinion, everyone should be on prevention 12 months out of the year, but at least during those warmer months when mosquitoes are out.
A lesson she says she and Nova learned the hard way. Nancy Russell, CBC News, Charlottetown.
It is Canadian Down Syndrome Week, a time to celebrate and support people who live with that condition. The Down Syndrome Resource Foundation is a Burnaby group that helps people with Down syndrome find jobs. Employment specialist Asia Masters joins us now. Asia, first of all, how do you help clients get job opportunities?
I work with community partners and reach out to those that I work with, and depending on the job interest of the clients that I'm working with. So trying to match them with jobs that they find interesting.
And what sort of jobs are the people that you work with interested in, and what kind of jobs are they getting those jobs or something similar?
Yeah, for the most part, they've been able to find, or I've been able to place them in things that they're interested in. So it really varies. You know, they're individualized. I've got some that are working in front of house restaurant jobs, some in back of house, some at markets and grocery stores. So yeah, it really just kind of depends on the client themselves.
Has there been any pushback from employers at all, or stigma that still exists around employing someone who lives with Down syndrome?
I think there is not tons of pushback, but I know that it's sort of the fear of the unknown, and it is a risk. You know, you're taking on a risk hiring somebody potentially, and yeah, so not tons of pushback, but with knowledge, and I offer lots of support. Then, you know, they're often more willing to kind of get on board and at least kind of give it a try.
And for those who may be reluctant, what do you tell them specifically about the skills that people who may live with Down syndrome bring to a workplace?
I think those adults who are looking for jobs who have Down syndrome, it's kind of a completely untapped resource. They are keen to work, they're very eager to be there, and a lot of them really like a feature of Down syndrome is an enjoyment in repetition. So kind of those monotonous tasks that sometimes, somebody else may not be interested in, they can really thrive doing things like that. And a longevity in their employment. They're likely to be part of the team for a really long time. So.
Mm-hmm. And why is it important in your mind to have, for workplaces, to have inclusive or more inclusive employment?
I think for anybody that has a disability, they have the right to work. They see their peers and their family members growing up and going to school and working, and it's just sort of the next steps that everybody takes. And I think an inclusive workplace, it is better for everybody. Those colleagues who get to work with somebody who has Down syndrome, they benefit, the community benefits, and there's often a lot of, return customers for people who see inclusive workplaces. So.
Asia Masters, Employment Specialist with the Down Syndrome Resource Foundation in Burnaby. Thanks for your time and your perspective.
Yeah, thank you so much.
After the second straight night of ground raids, people in Gaza are desperate. More on the Israeli incursions after the break.
Forget about your end-of-the-season sale, your $1.49 day. This is the shopping event of the year. Expo souvenirs, slashed up to 80%, bringing the price just about down to what ordinary souvenirs cost. It brings them out in droves, the old, the young, the out of work, and those born to shop.
You got here at 6 o'clock?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I heard there was going to be a rush, and I wanted to get in and get what I want.
What do you want?
I want to get some Christmas gifts. I want to get the passports and the stamps and along that line.
You couldn't get that in 6 months of Expo?
I could, but the prices are slashed, so I wasn't going to pay what they wanted.
What time did you have to get up to get here at 5?
4.
4 o'clock. For this?
Well, it's worth it. If I get what I want, I'm saving $100 on the first thing I buy.
What are you going to buy?
A pin set.
How much are you going to spend?
Probably about $50 to $60.
Think you'll be able to stick to that once you get inside and see the prices?
No.
Everybody that's on the floor should have a highlighter pen.
Inside, staff members are getting ready. They've even got the first aid kit handy, just in case. There's $4 million worth of merchandise here. The sale could last till Christmas. It isn't so bad if you just want an umbrella, or 6, or a few sun visors. But watch out, if you're looking for a Swatch watch, it's the big seller, marked from $50 down to $19.99.
One step or nobody's going to be helped. There are plenty of watches.
Most come for the deals, but you can also buy a passport book and get all the stamps, even if you didn't see the pavilions. This woman says she visited every pavilion, and for her, this shopping spree is a way to keep Expo alive.
Because I don't like to go to the movies, and the TV every night get fed up, But the Expo was good for me, a lot.
So for those who loved it, and even those who didn't, there's no escaping Expo. In Christmas stockings across the province, and every time it rains in Vancouver, there'll be a reminder of the summer of '86. Connie Monk, CBC News, Vancouver.
After warning that the bombing of Gaza was only the beginning, Israel has now launched its largest ground assault there. In the last several hours, we've seen more intense bombing and shelling from Israel. Adding to the fear and anxiety, communications in Gaza, including phone and internet, are almost completely cut off.
Heavy barrages of rockets over Gaza Friday night, the most intense of this war, large bursts of sustained airstrikes. The IDF confirmed ground operations are expanding, with reports of thick smoke bombs obscuring movements along the border and heavy tank firing outgoing from southern Israel. For 2 previous nights, Israeli Defense Forces have penetrated Gaza in and out by dawn, but staying out of a full-scale ground war for now. The main telecommunications in Gaza says its last cable was severed Friday night due to airstrikes. The pounding above translates to death below and wrenching sorrow. 14 people were killed, he says. They were all females, among them a 2-month-old baby and my niece, who was just 1 year old. I don't know what to do. Gaza is on the brink. Another 10 trucks with supplies arriving from Egypt amounted to just crumbs of aid, says the main UN agency operating in Gaza.
Basic services are crumbling. Medicine is running out. Food and water are running out. The streets of Gaza have started overflowing with sewage. Gaza is on the brink of a massive health hazard.
Israel has been heavily criticized for bombing close to hospitals like Al-Shifa in Gaza City. The IDF produced evidence, it says, that Hamas operates its headquarters underneath the hospital in a web of underground tunnels.
Hamas wages war from hospitals.
A significant threat for any ground troops which might push further into Gaza City.
They are connected in a way that Hamas terrorists can move from one area to another, and everything is done underground. It's very, very difficult to detect this.
Tonight, reports circulating about a possible hostage exchange deal was denied by Israel, although negotiations are believed to be ongoing. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Jerusalem.
The UN General Assembly today voted overwhelmingly in favor of an immediate humanitarian truce. Arab states drafted that resolution and included a demand for aid access in Gaza and protection for civilians. 120 countries voted in favor, 14, including the United States, voted against, 45 abstained, including Canada. An amendment pushed by Canada that would have condemned what it called terrorist attacks by Hamas failed to get the necessary 2/3 majority, although 88 countries did support it. The resolution is non-binding. The federal government says it will match donations made by Canadians for humanitarian response in Gaza and the West Bank. Ottawa says it will match donations by people up to a maximum total of $10 million. That money will be used for life-saving services for innocent civilians, as well as shelter, food, and medical services. Authorities in Maine are still struggling to find a suspect in the deadliest mass shooting the U.S. has seen so far this year. The suspect is an Army reservist accused of gunning down 18 people 2 days ago. Allison Northcott has more.
Divers searched the river near the boat launch where the suspect's car was found. Investigators are looking for any clues that could lead them to 40-year-old suspect Robert Card.
We are looking in that vicinity of the boat launch, in the water right there under the bridge out to the mouth of the river and then down along the banks.
At the crime scenes where 18 people were shot and killed, investigators continued to scour for evidence.
We're going to be processing every square inch of these facilities. Not only do you have the victims in question, but every one of those rounds that got fired need to be investigated.
Officials say they've received more than 500 tips from the public. Police surrounded this farm, a show of force, but still didn't find the suspect. People in Lewiston and several neighboring communities have been under a shelter-in-place order since the shootings.
They really want to show some signs of hope.
This resident hung a banner to show support for his community as it grieves.
These are people that have been in the community for years. You know, a guy that manages the breakfast spot that I go to, you know, an umpire in the softball league, people that we just see all the time.
One of the shootings took place at the bowling alley where 40-year-old Brian McFarlane was gathered with fellow members of the city's deaf community. His sister spoke with CNN.
Not only just Brian, but we've lost 3 other friends as well from this tragic incident in this community. It's a huge loss.
Another victim, Arthur "Artie" Strout, was a father of 5. His own father was with him just before the shooting.
The crazy part is just being with him just before it happened, 10 minutes before it happened.
Schools and many businesses were closed again today. Officials say they don't know how long the shelter-in-place order will last. It remains for now, they say, to keep the community safe. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Lewiston, Maine.
And we have breaking news in the search for the suspect of the mass shooting in Maine. There are multiple reports tonight that he has been found dead. Police have been searching for 40-year-old Robert Card for more than 2 days now after we said at least 18 people were killed. Police have planned a news conference for 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll bring you any other updates we get throughout the show. They star in horror movies but are actually BC's superheroes. Fascinating world of bats and the ones that are at risk in our province. This story will fly after this.
I'm here to prepare for the next NEG.
So this event is just kind of a kickoff event, so it's going to be a fun event for our kids. So the kids who are attending today are either going to be of age, hopefully for NEG 2027.
I'm feeling excited. Yeah. I want to do wrestling or archery. My brother did wrestling. I just think archery is really cool.
Yeah, it was a very good experience. Just trying to meet other kids is probably the best part about it. I only started because of NEG, which was only like 6 months prior.
So you're still doing it?
Yeah, definitely. The next goal is Canada Games, 100%. I've definitely gained interest in it a lot.
It was really cool seeing him wrestle, and yeah, it was inspiring.
That makes me very happy to hear. And especially with her wanting to do wrestling, it makes me proud of the future generations.
So yeah, it's really good to see some kids try something new and realize that, oh my God, that is what I like to do and have fun. And if I can give that opportunity and have a kid come after this, be like, I want to play lacrosse, I want to participate in my culture, that's a win for me. We have a visitor from Nunavut. He is a wrestler, so he's had a tough journey to get to where he is.
I played at Halifax, Nova Scotia on Team Nunavut for wrestling. It was definitely a great experience being able to share my journey with my teammates and my coaches. Wrestling has shown me that there's a lot more to life than just what's back home in Nunavut, and it's also gave me a purpose in life to push further for the better.
So hopefully that will kind of inspire them to keep going, and whatever barriers they have, they can work through it.
we're sharing really important information with the public, and I feel like this is exactly what our job is, especially as the public broadcaster, especially in morning radio. That's incredibly important.
It is International Bat Week, just in time for spooky season. BC is home to more than a dozen different species of the animal. Our Ali Patarga headed to Lost Lagoon in Stanley Park to make some new winged friends.
Oh, I got a bat, I got a bat, I got a bat. It's exciting. So it's out over the water because the calls are not too strong. So there's a bat out there flying around, so.
Well, we got really lucky.
Yes, we got extremely lucky. So
we didn't get to see them, but at least they're around. We know they're around. So Danielle, we're in Lost Lagoon in Stanley Park, and it's near the water. There's quite a bit of vegetation going around. So what makes this place an ideal hangout for bats?
Well, being right in the middle of the city, there's not much habitat left for bats in urban areas, and so Stanley Park provides a unique area right in the city where they have some fresh water, where they have large trees, there's old buildings for them to roost in, so it provides the shelter, the food, and the water for the bats. So you can find bats all throughout Stanley Park. As you're walking along an area like Lost Lagoon, when you have this opening in the forest where there's a space for the bats to fly in, this is a great spot to view them. So you want the vegetation not to be too thick so that they can come out of the trees and then come into the water. So this is a great spot to see them because you've got little openings along the north part of the Lost Lagoon.
And around what time of day is best to find them?
So 15 minutes after sunset is the best time to see bats. So a lot of people don't realize that bats are one of the most common wildlife species we have in the city. It's just that people don't notice them because they fly fast and they're dark and they're really hard to see. But if you have a sky behind the bats as they're flying, you can really see that. And so this is a great spot to see the bats flying over the lake and flying over the sky with the city behind you.
It's a little late in the season, right? They're hard to find.
Yeah, so right now, being in the middle of Bat Week, it would be nice to get a bat. But what most people don't realize is that even though Halloween's approaching and everybody's seeing bats everywhere, the bats are actually sleeping. So as the temperatures get cold, there's no more insects for them to feed, and so they go into hibernation.
You count bats every year.
Yes.
So what can you tell us about the numbers?
Yeah, so we recruit a lot of really dedicated volunteers, and we have regular weekly or bi-weekly bat emergence counts within Stanley Park. There's 2 known summer maternity roosts here, as well as several bat boxes throughout the park. The first maternity roost is in the Stanley Park Pavilion, and there's another one just at the Vancouver Rowing Club. And what we do is we station volunteers at different points to count how many bats are emerging from these roosts, and we count them from year to year, and we try to see if there's track any changes in the population within that roost. From last year to this year, looks like there's a slight increase, but of course there's variations from year to year. So we try to keep a long-term data set to see how things are going.
Bats have a bit of a reputation, and I love horror movies, and I can't help but be intrigued by their macabre charisma, if you may. But I understand that they do help with the environment in their own ways. So in what ways do they do that?
Yes, and so we're trying to get people to not think about the bad part of bats, but try to think of them as a very important wildlife. So here in Vancouver and all of Canada, our bats are insectivores. They're out there every night consuming vast quantities of insects. Bats are eating over 80 different species of insects that are attacking crops. So very important for agriculture.
Yeah, so a lot of people are scared of bats, right? So what myths do you want to dispel about their reputation of being scary and vampiric and fierce?
So most people, when they think of bats, they think of 2 words. They think of pest and they think of nests. And we want to disassociate those 2 words. So they are not pests. They should not be considered pests. They are very important wildlife because of the roles that they play. They do not nest. They only roost in locations. So they don't carry anything in. They don't chew. They don't build anything. They just hang out in crevices. So that's one myth that I want people to know about. The other one is diseases. So people believe that bats are full of diseases because they look like rodents. They are not part of the rodent family. The only disease that they carry in BC that you need to be aware of is rabies, which is serious, but less than 1% of the population carries rabies. So if you respect wildlife and don't touch them, you have no fear from bats.
Ali Batarga reporting, and Doris Madavi joins us now with the forecast, the full one, and Fun Fact Friday. And you knew a thing or two about bats, don't you?
I do, and that is what Fun Fact Friday is all about. But first, we have to get through the weather. Fortunately, it's a quick one, because there's, again, not much happening. Again, over the next couple days, we don't really have anything happening. We have some cloud that moves through. It's not until Sunday that we start to see some more cloud move into the north. When it does come, it should stick around for a while, but by early next week, right now, it is expected to clear up again, although that is very likely to, or it's possible that it could change because some of the models are in disagreement. But regardless, we're seeing the temperatures come up. Even if we do see that cloud continue, over the next few days, we see this getting a little bit more green over the coming days. So a bit of a return to seasonal. And by Halloween, we should be back around seasonal for parts of BC, although parts of the central and northern interior still going to be a bit chilly. Tomorrow, though, nothing but sunshine across the province. That's going to be the case for Sunday as well. So don't expect anything to change all that much, except that cloud coming into the north. And here in Vancouver, we've got tonight, we've got clear skies, and I just wanted to highlight that we do have a full moon tonight. It's around 99% full, so that's a little bit exciting. A little bit of frost possible tonight, and then in the week ahead, nothing but sunshine until mid next week when we start to see some cloud moving in, but not likely to see much precipitation until potentially Wednesday at the earliest.
Okay. What about Fun Fact Friday?
Fun Fact Friday, we've got bats. So this is a vampire bat, and because it's also, we're approaching spooky season, I thought, let's have a spooky fact. So did you know that if a vampire bat doesn't drink blood for 2 nights, that's all it takes for the vampire bat to pass away? But then I also thought, bats aren't spooky. We shouldn't be thinking that bats are spooky.
Right.
So let's have a sweeter fact, which is that if a vampire bat doesn't drink blood for 2 nights and it's very hungry, another vampire bat that did get some food will be very generous and it'll vomit up its own blood meal so that the other bat can have something to eat.
Oh, that's charming.
And that's so sweet.
Yeah, they're working together.
Exactly. We've got so many great things about bats. They eat a ton of insects. Most out of the 1,400 species of bats around the world, only 3 actually do drink blood. The rest mostly eat insects and fruit and nectar. They pollinate everything from cacao to mangoes to many nuts and figs. And they are they provide about anywhere from $4 to $53 billion worth of pest control in the United States alone. So really the scariest thing about bats is white nose syndrome. So
there we go.
That'll be it.
Free agriculture help. Thanks very much.
Have a good weekend.
Making art that pops. The creations of a save-on-food store manager after this.
Maybe it's the fact that I can't go back now. Maybe it's the rivers, that much calming now. I can hear the storm knocking at my door, and I just wanna answer. I think I know its name, 'cause I'm the one to blame, always chasing a disaster. Now I have to leave, just so I can breathe. Please don't tell me that you miss me. It's too late to change, I just need a little rain. I'm just looking for a better me. I can't be those things next to you. I can't be those things next to you. I thought we'd be forever, but I'm changing like the weather. Up, down, got scared, so I went and cut my hair. As our words, they lose their I just need to feel that feeling, and it's too late to change. I'm already on a plane, I want it faster, chasing a disaster, just so I can pick up all the pieces, put them back without a reason when I'm there. Even if I'm scared, please don't tell me that you miss me. I wanna be better, I wanna be new, but I can't be those things next to you. Ooh. I can't be those things next to you. I can't be those things next to you. I can't be those things next to you. I wanna be better, I wanna be new, but I can't be those things next to you.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell. Here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
With the changes to how Canada is able to access journalism online and on social media, we want to assure you that when you're looking for CBC News, you'll always be able to find us. Wherever you are in BC, local news, breaking stories, and the latest from around the world is at your fingertips any time of the day with the free CBC News app and online at cbcnews.ca. Download the CBC News app and stay connected wherever you are.
He takes boxes of pop and turns them into art, turning a save-on-food store into a veritable fine art gallery. You never know what you're about to find, depending on the season, and you will only find it in Kelowna.
Hi, my name is Eric Falkenberg. I'm the Assistant Operations Manager at Save On Foods. I build displays. About 6 years ago, they had a contest for Coca-Cola. It was a $1,000 contest, so I wanted to win it. So I built this big polar bear. And then the polar bear, it ended up taking off, and I won a national contest by accident. I went to college for civil engineering, actually. Everyone thinks I use this fancy computer program, but no, it's all just pen and pencil, and draw it out, count the boxes, and build it. They order the boxes, tell Coke or Pepsi, whoever it is, that I need so much, and then they give them to me, but they come in flat. So I got to spend hours and hours, usually get a few friends over, and then fold the boxes. And everything's built in big pieces, and usually some of them require a wood frame or a steel structure in the middle, just for safety. A lot of tape. Tape's super strong. It adheres really well. So I've never seen people take out their camera so much, take a photo, a lot of selfies, and just a lot of shares on social media. So.
Do we carry the Pure Life 97 parts per million, no chlorine? Do we have any?
No, not yet.
Do we know when we're getting it? Tonight? Okay, thank you. You're the best.
You're welcome.
I love the box on the top. Now, if you're doing some last-minute Halloween costume preps and Barbie is top of mind, get in line. Costume stores say they can't get enough of the top-grossing movie of the year.
Everybody wants to be Barbie this year, and a few Kens, but definitely Barbie is the number one. I mean, even since the movie came out, people were buying fabric to make costumes to wear to the movie. Everyone dressed up. People were going to Barbie murder mysteries, and now we have a couple of Barbie costumes. We have wigs to sell. We have lots of fabric to make your own Barbie outfit. No, you can never have enough pink.
Thanks for being with us tonight and this week. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, YouTube, and of course our website, cbc.ca/BC. Janella Hamilton will have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe.